With Chainsaw Man chapter 180, we pick up where the last chapter left off, where the aging devil has set its sights on Yoru and Mitaka, but the tables, they get reversed here, and what we see is that the ever so confident war devil has now been humbled by a much older and more powerful devil in the aging devil. With just one word, bang, the entire momentum of the battle, it is shifted, and we see Fujimoto establish for readers the true depths of terror that exists with what a primal devil is. With primal devils, they are supposed to be the oldest and most powerful devils of existence, yet we've arguably gone 1 for 2 with the primal devils that have been shown in universe up to this point. The darkness devil made Makima look like a mortal, and it left Denji and company with so much PTSD that power, she refused to be left alone. Denji had to bathe with her and he had to sleep with her in order to make her feel comforted and safe. The falling devil, when it comes to the power level in terms of combat, it failed to do much of the matching of the impact of the darkness devil, but in the aftermath we saw how shaken the world was with the effects of the falling devil, with people suffering severe PTSD. And here's the thing with the fandom, it appeared as if it left a bit of a mixed bag. So the aging devil, it has a very high bar to clear, but thankfully it does do its job in this chapter. Right away we see Mitaka and Yoru hit by the attack, and Mitaka is back running through the alley in her dreams yet again, another ominous sign of things that are coming in both the short term for her character as well as in the long term, similar to how that door was built up for a long time with Denji's character. The alleyway for Mitaka is doing the exact same thing here. For Denji, that door that he was constantly dreaming of, it led to a memory that he wanted to forget, which, as we all know, Makima forced him to open the door. For Mitaka, she's been going through this alleyway for a while now, so there's something in her past that is being slowly brought up to the surface, which makes you feel for her having to share her body with a menace like Yoru. However, instead of getting some over-the-top foreboding reveal, we get a peaceful landscape scene. But as we know with Chainsaw Man, what might look like a pretty background shouldn't be treated lightly at all. The reason being is that this is exactly what we saw when Chainsaw Man took us to hell in part 1 of the story. We had that lush scenery with flowers, and then hell was unleashed in the form of the devils we saw, and it eventually led to the darkness devil being revealed. It's the same thing going on here. A breathtaking beauty of a backdrop so packed with beautiful imagery in the scenery, it was a precipice for the evil that's being introduced. This is where Fujimoto goes back to using the heavy hand and soft hand tactic of writing, where he uses the soft-handed dark humor to get a laugh at us before hitting us over the head with the heavy-handed dark narrative. When Mitaka sees Denji unconscious in the grass, Yoru immediately takes back control of Mitaka's body and is on demon time right away, attempting to shoot Denji in the head, yet things, they don't go the way that she had planned. Her powers, they don't work right now in this world that's been created by the aging devil, and we see Yoru getting frustrated as a result, down to the point of sticking her finger in Denji's mouth like it's a gun barrel of a pistol, and she's attempting to shoot him in the mouth and blow his brains out. But her powers, they don't work here. Denji remains alive, and both Mitaka and Yoru, they are shocked at this new development, which we'll touch on Denji's state in a little bit. So this is our first sign that the aging devil wasn't just talking when it said both Chainsaw Man and the War Devil are out of their league when trying to deal with it. Yet what happens next just proves how insane that statement is, because both Yoru and Denji, they are decades away in terms of experience, and they are in way over their head here. We meet a devil hunter who has been trapped inside of this world for several decades, 8 to be precise, and he tells Mitaka that this world that has been created by the aging devil is one that is different from what they might be expecting. One day he was walking by the mirror and he saw the one thing that every person eventually sees, which is they saw how the age lines were beginning to appear on their face. He was no longer in his youth. The springtime of his youth, it had set in, and he was now becoming middle-aged. It was a reflection of a fear that every human being has, that every day, each breath, it brings you closer and closer to getting old and your best days being behind you. Some men, they go out and they buy like a sports car as part of a midlife crisis. Some women, they get Botox injections, but this guy, he took it to the most extreme of extremes. He got so scared of getting old that he made a contract with the aging devil. Yet, as Chainsaw Man Part 1 showed us, when you make a contract with the devil, there is usually a price that you have to pay, particularly because devils do not care for human beings at all. In 99% of the cases, they hate them. Upon hearing this, Mitaka Mitaka asks the question, is there a way to escape from this place where nobody appears to age? And she follows up by asking, how long has this devil hunter been trapped here? And that's where we get the very cruel truth. He's been here for 82 years at this point, and he's the youngest person that is here. 82 years is a very long time, especially for a grown man. If we say that he was in his 40s, he's basically almost halfway into his second lifetime. The average life expectancy for men in the United States is 74 years old, but in Japan, it's currently 84 years old. Chainsaw Man, it is set in the late 90s, so if we went with the 1999 year, which is the end of that decade, the average lifespan is 80 years old, which means he's still starting his second lifetime, which really shows the price he had to pay in order to escape aging, which also means escaping death itself. This is a very good and subtle way to begin planting the seeds to get us to the Death Devil's introduction, because aging is a process that eventually will lead us to death. In this setup for the Death Devil, everything is slowly beginning to fall into place here, but as always with Chainsaw Man, before we get into things like that, we have to get past a lot of the weird stuff first. The devil hunter that she's speaking to tells Mitaka that a long time ago there was a human who escaped from this realm, but before he can go any further, he begins to undergo what appears to be a cognitive decline, and it's kind of ironic. So he's seeing someone who isn't there, and he's confusing Mitaka with someone else. The same way someone who has dementia makes the same confusion, and it's a subtle hint without telling us that those in this realm, while they don't physically age, their minds, they aren't immune to this. They still are able to retain some perception of time and how it flows. Hence, this guy knows he's been there for 82 years. And now, with the hint of even delayed cognitive function being shown and being impaired, it just kind of shows you and realize that the contract that the aging devil made with them, it is very, very nasty. The devil hunter, he's screaming like a madman without making any type of sense. As where we are right now, we don't know if Asa and Yoru, they've been physically transferred or if this was just something mentally, but I'd argue that this is more of a mental transfer than a physical one, just given that Denji is there and this is Denji and not Chainsaw Man. The way that Yoru continues to take control of Asa is also a sign of the small seeds that are being planted for them eventually having their split, because she is trying to kill Denji here, who wasn't Chainsaw Man in that moment. I do get the logic here. The more subtle discomfort that Mitaka has shown with this whole killing Chainsaw Man scenario is only going to make things more tense. Right now, we have more questions than we have answers here, but the weird, trippy vibes of what we have here is right up the lane with the unpredictability that you expect Fujimoto to showcase, from the power of the aging devil to the way that it subverts the expectations of readers, while also giving that creepy fear of the devil itself. The other question we have to ask is, why is Denji asleep? And if this is potentially just as Denji as a husk of himself, given he's had every emotional bone in his body broken at this point, and his will to live, it might be gone following Nayuta's death a few chapters ago, which is very similar to how Makima was able to strip Denji of his will to live in Chainsaw Man Part 1 near the end when they were in the apartment together, which in order to see the impact that Makima had and the complex layers of the Makima and Denji relationship, you want to click here to watch that Makima video essay on the left side of the screen, or you want to click here to watch this new video from Anime Explained.